Well, hello and welcome along to another video from Woodstock Resin Works. Unfortunately, this is a not what to do video. I had a call from a person who said that they had a resin table that had cracked and it was a little bit bent, and could I do anything to help fix it. Now, I'm not going to say who made it. I know who made it, but I'm not going to say who made it. But because I truly believe that anyone making resin tables is doing their very best. But there is some fundamental bits that you need to do to get things right. So this is the table here, and I'll just run you through what's wrong with it. So first of all, it is on my flattening bench, which I've spent a long time getting absolutely flat, and you can even see big gap. Yeah, gap over there, and we look down the side of it and we can see it's a little bit wavy, and that continues down the length of it. Over here, obviously those familiar with making resin tables will know that your moisture content has got to be somewhere around 10%, depending on where you are in the world. You might get away with a little bit more if you're in a more humid part of the world, but about 10% is where we need to be. When I went down to look at this, it was 9 on average, and they'd had it in their house for 2 years. So it's dried out and bent in that time. Now you can obviously, this is the underside of it, so you can see there's no C channels in there, there's nothing to hold it together. That's another problem. The legs, which are over here, were held on with wood screws and washers, countersunk wood screws with washers, which were not countersunk, and as you can see there was only 3 on this side, 3 on this, 3 on that side, 3 on that side. There were actually 4 each in the other side at least. Looking closer, and this is something that I've only noticed today since I've had it on the bench, look at that, there's a screw in there, and that has obviously been sanded or flattened somehow. There's filler down the edge, and these are bubble holes. The other side is cracked. The resin is cracked in various places. I'm going to turn it over at the moment because it's chuffing heavy, but the resin is cracked in various places, probably due to the moisture content of the wood being too high, and with it drying out and it's cracked the wood. So yeah, there's also a lot of bubbles in there, an excessive amount. I mean, we always try to keep bubbles down to a minimum, but sometimes it can't be helped, you know. But this is ridiculous. The edges weren't sealed. It's quite obvious that the edges weren't sealed before, and it's finished in some kind of wax, and you can even see it's not been sanded properly. You can still see machine marks on there. So yeah, it's not a very well made table at all, and I hate to say that, because we do try our best. There are certain things that we mitigate against as best we can, right? So bubbles, a little bit of twistage here and there. You know, we try our best, but what we're doing is we're marrying two materials that really shouldn't go together. Like we're marrying wood and epoxy resin, which those two materials really shouldn't be put together. But you know, so we have to mitigate as best we can against things like bending and cupping and bubbles and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, things, you know, you cannot get a perfect result on any bespoke piece of furniture anytime. You can't just get an absolutely 100% perfect result every time. There are going to be certain you know, bubbles in there. There are going to, but what we always have to do is try to mitigate against that. If you're making tables, particularly if you're going to make tables to sell, you do your very best to, you know, to mitigate against all of those things. And this one, unfortunately, has just not been made, and it was properly, and it was cheap. It was cheaply made, and if you know, if someone at a table this big should really be £3,000 or £4,000, you know, that's what I would charge for a table like this, and with good reason, because that it's you know, the wood in this is probably over £1,000 just as it is. You know, the resin again is £500 or £600 worth of resin, so 1,500 quid is too cheap. You know, so if somebody's going to offer you a table that, you know, for less than £1,000 or £1,500, then, you know, alarm bells should ring, really. Just don't go for, you know, you pay for what you get. So this is part one of the series of fixing this table. Not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm going to start by just flattening it off and see where we are after that. I might take the resin out completely, which is a big old job, or I might just route out a little bit and then re-pour. But looking at it, I'm leaning much more towards taking the resin out completely. Obviously the customer doesn't want to spend too much money, so I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to do it properly, but I'm going to try and do it as financially viable as I can. So join me next time in part 2, when I'll hopefully be putting this one right. Bye for now.